What's the question I get asked more than any? That question is, can the TP-Link E4 be as good or identical to the TP-Link M4? Check this out. Some of you would have seen my previous unboxing and review of the TP-Link Deco E4 system, and then from that you'd have also seen some videos comparing the two systems, or comparing that system with a M4. So you've got the E4 and the M4, which is a slightly improved version, although when you look at them both they look exactly the same. When you get into the specifications, there's one big difference. The E4 on the left has a wired maximum upload download of 100 megabits per second, whereas on the right the M4 can have 1 gigabit per second. The Wi-Fi systems, actually, when that data is within your network, is exactly the same. So what does that mean? Can you set the two things up to be exactly the same? Well, in the first instance here, look, I'm showing an E4 setup. First box is the router, and then I've got my 3 Deco units. The green is showing I'm getting 100 megabits per second coming into my router, and then going connected into my first node, my first Deco unit, and then I can still create, because I've got really fast Wi-Fi, that same green data level throughout the entire network. All is good, but what happens if I want 1 gigabit per second rather than 100 megabits per second? Well, I can get that from an M4 setup. But what some viewers have pointed out, and this is really good thinking, is by adding an M4 unit as your primary unit to your E4 system, then the wired connection can come in at 1 gigabit rather than 100 megabits. And you can see here, this is what I've done. This is how I showed this originally, but then we discussed it further, and actually, because the Wi-Fi connection is really good throughout the network, you only need that initial node to do the 1 gigabit per second to send 1 gigabit of data right through your network. So you can upgrade by just literally having one M4 unit to effectively have all of your network acting as if they're M4s. Well, almost. There's one difference. It's a different graphic, but showing essentially the same thing. My 1 gigabit or 1000 megabits per second coming in on the red, and that pink there is showing that actually each of these nodes, the M4 and the couple of E4s on the end, can still transmit 1000 megabits per second. That's because the M4 and the E4 have got the same Wi-Fi capability, so you're not losing anything there. The only difference is when you want to wire a device at the end or somewhere within that network. As soon as you go wired on an E4, you're back to 100 megabits per second, but all the wireless devices are unaffected. Those devices are effectively running as if they were M4 connected devices. So there you go, folks. That's just another take, another thought of the way that you can use an M4 and an E4 together in your network and get nearly the same network settings as the better system. So this is almost like, not like the weakest link, but almost like the strongest link. But bear in mind, anywhere it's connected, anywhere where there's a wired connection on the E4 system, is going to have 100 megabits per second. Other than that, the Wi-Fi systems on both can kick it out. They're both exactly the same, the M4 and the E4. Of course, if you've got an M4 on the way in, your first connection, then you're getting your 1 gigabit maximum upload download onto your system, and then the Wi-Fi can spread it far and wide and fast. So there you go, just another thought, another take. And I put this out there just because of all the discussion that's been going on. I thank everyone for getting involved, and please add your comments. this is a nice discussion. It's something we can take forward. So please subscribe. I could do with a few subscribers, and that way you can keep up to date with things like this, which might be interesting. See you guys on the Wi-Fi Schmi Fly flip side.